Welcome to From Manuscript to Ministry, created and produced by Elder William Moore, the podcast where faith meets the written word. Each week, your hosts David and Martha dive into powerful, self-published books by Christian authors who are boldly using their God-given voices to impact the kingdom. Whether you're an aspiring writer, a reader seeking spiritual growth, or a ministry leader in search of authentic resources, this is your space to be inspired, encouraged, and equipped. Let's explore today's featured book and uncover the life-changing message behind the manuscript.
You know, we spend just an enormous amount of time and money trying to engineer our lives.
Yeah.
Like, we buy these expensive planners, we hire life coaches.
Oh, yeah, the 5-year trajectory maps. Everyone has one.
Right, exactly. We map it all out because the underlying assumption is that building a life is, well, it's like building a house.
Which implies you have total control.
Exactly. You secure a blueprint, you pour a foundation, and, every load-bearing wall is clearly marked. And that feels really safe.
It does. It feels predictable.
But when you actually examine the lives of the men and women throughout history who, truly shifted culture or advanced a profound spiritual purpose, that clean, linear blueprint is entirely missing.
It's just not there.
It's not. Instead, they operate in this murky, unpredictable space where the only guiding metric is a vision they can't even, prove exists yet.
And that unpredictable space, that's really where human ambition collides with divine calling.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
When we analyze the source text for today's deep dive, we're looking at documents that actively challenge our modern obsession with predictability, because a life engineered entirely by human logic might be safe, but the texts argue it will rarely be extraordinary.
Which brings us right to our mission today. We are jumping into the From Manuscript to Ministry Season 2, Season 6 series. Specifically, we're focusing on the theme, From Ordinary to Extraordinary, 33 motivational quotes from Judges chapter 6, verse 12.
It's such a rich theme. There's so much to unpack there.
There really is. And the focal point of our exploration today is, quote, #24 by Elder William Moore. The quote is, "Dare to dream, for within your dreams lies the potential to create a powerful reality."
Now, on a surface level, I know that sounds like standard motivational rhetoric.
Right, like something you'd see on a poster in a corporate break room.
Exactly. Dare to dream. But the context of Judges chapter 6 forces us to look at this through a completely different, much more radical lens. We are talking about Gideon here.
Yeah, Gideon hiding in a wine press. Okay, let's unpack this.
Mm-hmm.
Because this isn't just about positive thinking or manifesting a sports car.
Not at all. The historical context of Judges chapter 6 is vital for understanding this. The Midianites were systematically destroying the Israelites' crops. Their livelihoods were just decimated.
So everyone is basically in survival mode.
Pure survival mode.
Yeah.
Gideon is a man paralyzed by fear. He is literally hiding his wheat in an underground wine press so it wouldn't be stolen. He is the definition of ordinary.
He's keeping his head down, trying not to get noticed.
Right. Yet an angel appears and addresses him as a mighty warrior.
Which is wild. He's literally cowering in a hole in the ground.
Exactly. The divine perspective completely bypassed his current terrified reality and spoke directly to his latent potential. The dream, the vision of him as a deliverer, it preceded the reality. It fundamentally is a divine invitation.
A divine invitation. So if we apply that framework to Elder Moore's quote, that powerful reality he mentions, it isn't a byproduct of Gideon just mustering up his own self-confidence.
No, you can't self-help your way into that kind of calling.
Right. It's a reality created by aligning with a divine assessment that totally contradicts his current circumstances. So our core thesis today for you, the listener, is that God often reveals your future through the dreams and visions he places in your heart.
But that immediately introduces a really severe tension.
Because we have to separate a genuine divine invitation from, everyday ego-driven personal ambition. They can look pretty similar from the outside.
They can. The source material is very clear that these dreams contain the potential to help you live a fantastic life. But we really have to define what fantastic means in a spiritual context.
Right, because it doesn't just mean wealthy and comfortable.
Exactly. God-given dreams are not centered on personal glory. They exist to glorify him, serve others, and advance his kingdom.
So if the underlying motivation is just...
If it's just to ensure you are recognized or insulated from hardship or positioned as the smartest person in the room, then we are analyzing human ambition, not a divine assignment.
I want to pressure test that distinction for a second, because from an internal psychological standpoint, Ambition and divine calling can feel basically identical at the start, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. They both generate excitement. They both require late nights and hard work.
Right. But the ultimate beneficiary is different. I was thinking about it like
Yeah.
this chasing personal ambition is kind of like building a sandcastle where you're the king. It looks great for an afternoon, but it washes away with the tide.
It's temporary.
Totally temporary. But dreaming with God is like being handed a single brick and being asked to help build a cathedral that outlasts you.
That is a perfect analogy. And what's fascinating here is how God rarely reveals the entire blueprint of this cathedral at once.
Which is so frustrating.
It is, but he asks us to trust him one step at a time, allowing obedience to transform the vision into reality. If he showed you the sheer scale of the cathedral on day one, the resources required, the inevitable storms, you'd probably be paralyzed.
Oh, I would absolutely drop the brick and walk away. It's
Yeah.
too much pressure.
Most people would. That incremental revelation is actually mercy. The daily, seemingly mundane acts of obedience are what build the structure.
But taking that first step, even if it's small, often acts as a catalyst for immediate pushback, right? Sometimes violent pushback from the people closest to us.
It does. When we look at the scriptural case studies in our sources, receiving a dream is rarely a moment of communal celebration. Usually it's quite the opposite.
Which brings us to what we could call the Joseph paradigm. If you look at Genesis chapter 37, verses 5 through 6, the text delivers this, well, it's a devastating psychological blow in just a single sentence.
It really sets the stage for his whole life.
It says, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more.
Just brutal.
Right. I mean, Joseph didn't steal from them. He didn't physically attack them. He merely articulated a vision of the future that God had given him. And the immediate consequence was profound hatred.
To understand the mechanics of that hatred, we have to look at the patriarchal Canaanite society they lived in. Primogeniture, the right of the firstborn, dictated absolutely everything.
And Joseph was what, the 11th son?
The 11th. He had virtually zero social capital. And furthermore, his father Jacob had already given him this ornate robe.
The famous coat of many colors.
Right, though historically it was likely a tunic with long sleeves. In an agrarian culture, a long-sleeved tunic was the garment of a supervisor, someone exempt from manual labor.
Oh, wow. So Jacob was making a massive political statement about Joseph's status right there.
Exactly. He was subverting the entire social order of the family.
Yeah.
So when Joseph shares a dream where his brothers' sheaves of grain bow down to his sheaf,
They aren't just thinking, oh, Joseph had a weird nighttime hallucination.
no, it was an existential threat to their hierarchy. A God-given dream always disrupts the status quo.
It disrupts the comfortable, predictable boxes people have placed you in.
Precisely. Joseph's brothers looked at him, and their immediate, visceral reaction was to neutralize the threat. Long before Joseph ever saw the fulfillment of his dream, which was saving a nation from famine, he saw the bottom of a dry cistern. He saw false accusations.
He saw the inside of an Egyptian prison cell.
Yes. And if we look closely at that dynamic, it provides a very uncomfortable answer to why so many people abandon their dreams.
Let's talk about that.
Hmm.
Our sources list the common culprits for abandoned dreams,
Hmm.
right? Fear, rejection, criticism, failure, financial limitations, and the opinions of others.
Oh, classics.
Right. But I want to play devil's advocate for a second. If someone hands you a supervisor's coat and your entire family suddenly wants to throw you in a pit, isn't it just basic emotional intelligence to hand the coat back?
From a survival standpoint, sure.
I mean, if everyone around you is telling you that your dream is a bad idea or arrogant or financially ruinous, at what point does pushing forward cross the line from faith into actual arrogance?
It's a great question. The line between faith and narcissism is entirely dependent on the source of the vision.
Okay, unpack that for me.
From a purely secular sociological standpoint, persisting against universal consensus does look like arrogance. But this is exactly why the source text urges us to embrace the bravery to pursue these dreams.
Because the consensus of the crowd is rarely aligned with the purposes of God.
Exactly. The tragedy highlighted in our sources is not that God capriciously removes these dreams from us.
Right, it's not that he changes his mind.
No, the tragedy is that many dreams never actually die because God removed them. They fade because fear replaces faith.
Fear replaces faith. Wow. So the obstacle isn't the hostile environment like Joseph's brothers. The obstacle is our internal interpretation of that environment.
We view a lack of funding or a chorus of critics as a stop sign. But in a divine economy, those obstacles are not stop signs. They are the curriculum.
The curriculum, I love that.
They are the training equipment necessary to build the psychological and spiritual density required to carry the weight of the dream once it actually materializes.
Which Joseph absolutely needed.
Look at his curriculum. If he had not been sold into slavery and forced to manage the estate of Potiphar, he would never have learned Egyptian law, language, and macroeconomics.
He would have just been a shepherd.
Exactly.
Right.
And if he had not been unjustly imprisoned and tasked with running the prison's administration, he wouldn't have been prepared to manage the grain distribution for the most powerful empire on earth.
During a global famine, no less.
The pit and the prison were not interruptions to his destiny. They were the prerequisites.
That completely flips the script on how we view hardship. The adversity is the preparation. And if we understand that a dream is not just a passive wish for a better future, we really have to examine what the dream is actively doing to us in the present.
Which leads right into the mechanics of how this works. Our source material outlines 6 specific divine functions of a dream.
Let's spend some time breaking these down, because these aren't just abstract ideas. These are active processes. What's the first one?
The first function is that a dream will reveal purpose before circumstances change.
Reveal purpose before circumstances change. Okay, how does that operate practically in someone's life?
Imagine cognitive dissonance, but used for spiritual growth. Your current reality is ordinary. Maybe you are in debt or working a job you deeply dislike, or you're recovering from a massive public failure.
You're in the wine press, basically.
You're in the wine press. But God drops a vision into your heart of you leading a philanthropic movement, or writing a book that heals broken marriages. Your mind cannot reconcile the poverty of your present with the magnitude of that future.
That tension would be exhausting.
It is, but that tension is designed to pull you forward. God gives the vision while you are still in the ordinary. You don't wait until you have the resources to discover your purpose. The purpose is given to you in the deficit so that your character is forged by the pursuit.
You're given the purpose in the deficit. Man, that perfectly sets up the second function, which is that a dream inspires faith beyond current limitations.
Which is deeply logical if you think about it. If a dream fits neatly within your current budget, your current social network, and your current skill set,
then you don't really need God for it.
Exactly. It is highly likely that it is merely a human ambition. Dreams act as a bridge over current financial, physical, or social barriers. A divine invitation intentionally pushes you past the threshold of your own human capacity.
So when logic dictates that you should just stop because the financial barrier is too high, the vision demands that you step forward anyway.
It forces a reliance on supernatural provision. It demands that you trust the one who gave the dream to actually finance the dream.
Which inevitably changes who you are. And that leads to the third function. A dream prepares believers for future assignments. We touched on this with Joseph, but this is really about identity shifting, isn't it?
It's entirely about identity shifting. It's about neuroplasticity and spiritual discipline. When you hold a vivid, God-given vision of the future in your mind, it begins to dictate your micro-habits today. The dream is the training ground.
Give me an example of how that changes a habit.
Well, if the vision is to write a book that brings deep emotional healing to others, you cannot be a person who actively avoids doing your own deep emotional work.
Right. You can't be scrolling social media for 6 hours a day to numb out.
Exactly. The vision acts as a mirror. It exposes the flaws in your current character that would sabotage the future assignment. The dream is actively dismantling your old identity and building a new one long before the public ever sees the result.
And deep psychological and spiritual changes like that, they do not happen overnight. Which brings us to the fourth, and honestly, probably the most agonizing function for most of us. A dream develops patience while waiting for God's timing.
This is where modern listeners struggle immensely.
Because we want Amazon Prime delivery on our dreams.
We really do. Our entire culture is optimized for the elimination of friction and delay. But the gap between the dream and reality is where character is formed. In the spiritual realm, the gap between revelation and realization is not a mistake. It is a crucible.
So biblical patience isn't just passive resignation.
Not at all. It is not sitting in a waiting room scrolling on your phone. It is a state of active endurance. Think of the Chinese bamboo tree.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's kind of wild.
It is. You can plant the seed, water it, and fertilize it every single day for 5 years and see absolutely nothing break the surface of the soil.
Literally nothing for 5 years.
Nothing. The level of doubt you would battle every time you watered that empty patch of dirt would be staggering. Your neighbors would think you're crazy.
There goes Steve, watering the dirt again.
Exactly. But underground, that tree is developing a root system capable of sustaining massive growth. Because in the 5th year, the bamboo breaks the surface and can grow 90 feet in just 5 weeks.
90 feet? That's unbelievable.
But if it had grown without that 5-year delay to build the root system, it would be top-heavy and snap in the first gentle breeze.
Wow. So the waiting period was actively developing the subterranean strength necessary to survive the eventual elevation.
Yes, which leads perfectly to the 5th function. A dream builds perseverance through seasons of preparation.
So if patience is the internal attitude we maintain while watering the dirt, perseverance is the physical grit, right? The grit required to actually pick up the watering can on day 1000 when there is still no visible evidence of life. Sustaining the journey requires grit.
Perseverance is the sustained execution of ordinary tasks fueled entirely by an invisible reality. It is studying late at night, or forgiving the person who hurt you over and over, saving money diligently, all without a guarantee of when the breakthrough will actually occur.
It's obedience stripped of immediate gratification.
Exactly. And that makes the 6th and final function so profoundly impactful. A dream demonstrates his power as impossible dreams become reality.
When the bamboo finally shoots up 90 feet after all the delays and closed doors, the result is just undeniable.
The manifestation of the dream stands as a monument. When it finally occurs, no one can claim it was merely human effort. The sheer improbability of it removes human ego from the equation.
Nobody can look at a totally reclaimed life, or a restored marriage, or an impossible societal shift and say, oh, look at the brilliant strategic execution of that individual.
Right. The individual themselves has to look at it and acknowledge that it was a sovereign act of God. The ultimate function of the dream is doxology. It brings glory to the Creator.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. When we examine those 6 functions collectively, it completely reframes the concept of a waiting period.
It does.
We often treat a waiting season like a holding pattern, like an airplane circling an airport, just burning fuel until the runway clears. But the source material suggests it's not a holding pattern at all. It's an active preparation phase.
The murky water of the waiting period is diagnostic. It diagnoses our true motives. Are we pursuing the dream because we want the platform, or are we pursuing the dream out of obedience to the one who called us?
And navigating that diagnostic process means navigating some serious internal tension. Our sources point out 3 critical tensions every dreamer has to navigate. The first is the tension between waiting faithfully versus procrastinating.
This is a subtle trap, because from the outside, both involve a lack of visible forward movement.
Right, you're not launching the thing yet in either scenario.
But internally, they are diametrically opposed. Waiting faithfully is highly active. It involves preparing for the dream. It is the farmer repairing the tractor, studying the soil composition, and sharpening the tools while waiting for the rain.
And procrastinating.
Procrastinating is hiding from it. It is spiritualizing fear. It is sitting on the couch, refusing to do the necessary preparation, and telling your community that you are simply waiting on the Lord's timing.
Ouch. Procrastination uses theology as a shield against the vulnerability of potentially failing.
Exactly, which leads directly into the second tension, stepping out in faith versus remaining comfortable. The source text explicitly says to unlock the opportunities that lie ahead.
You cannot unlock a door via remote control from the safety of your comfort zone.
Comfort is a powerful anesthetic. An ordinary life is highly predictable and therefore comfortable. Stepping out in faith requires a willingness to look foolish.
It requires stepping out of the boat onto the water before you have empirical evidence that it will hold your weight.
The illusion of safety keeps more divine assignments buried in the graveyard than actual failure ever could.
That is so true. The third tension might be the most universally frustrating one for everyone listening. God's timing versus our own timetable.
We map out our lives with arbitrary deadlines, don't we?
Oh, constantly. If I haven't launched this business by 30 or if I'm not married by 35, the plan has failed.
We project our linear, chronological anxiety onto an eternal being. God operates outside of time. We want Amazon Prime delivery on a dream that requires slow-cooked preparation.
But God is infinitely more concerned with the condition of your heart than the speed of your acquisition. A microwave success usually results in an internal collapse, right?
When the pressure of the calling exceeds the integrity of the leader, collapse is inevitable.
So let me ask you this. How do you know the difference between waiting on God and just being scared to take the first step? If the timing is totally out of our control, how do we know?
That is the pivotal question of spiritual maturity. To answer it, our sources point us to Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 through 3. The historical context here is critical. Habakkuk is a prophet living in a time of absolute geopolitical terror. The Babylonian Empire is rising in power, and they are preparing to invade Judah.
Society is literally unraveling around him.
In the midst of this impending doom, God speaks to Habakkuk, and he doesn't say, "Here is a sword, go fight the Babylonian army."
What does he say?
He says, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay."
The juxtaposition there is fascinating. Though it linger, it will not delay. That sounds like a complete contradiction.
To the human mind, yes. But it is perfect divine logic. It means the revelation will not arrive a second sooner than it is meant to, nor a second later. True faith requires action.
Right, the instruction is to write down the revelation. You take the next faithful step, even when the full path isn't visible.
Exactly. This is the antidote to paralysis. If you are paralyzed by fear, you are taking no action. If you are waiting faithfully, you are taking the next logical, faithful step in preparation. You prepare the tablet so that when the appointed time arrives, you are ready to run.
You file the 501c paperwork even if you don't have the building yet.
Yes. You write the business plan, you study, you do the preparation.
I love that. Let's bring this home for you, the listener. We want to translate these ancient principles to your current life right now. I want you to think about a dream, a deep impression, or a calling that you have placed on hold, maybe shoved into the attic of your mind.
These divine invitations rarely look like parting the Red Sea in the modern era. They manifest in highly relatable, everyday scenarios.
Yeah, let's list some out because these are assignments meant to shape reality. For some of you, that dream is starting a ministry or beginning a nonprofit to intercept at-risk youth in your city.
For others, it might be the terrifying vulnerability of writing a book or launching a business that intentionally operates on kingdom ethics.
Maybe it's returning to school at 50 years old to finish a degree, or stepping up to serve in church leadership when your comfort zone is sitting in the back row.
Or perhaps the most painful one, reconciling a broken relationship, pursuing a long-delayed calling when everyone else says it's too late.
When you are standing in that terrain, the wave of doubt is inevitable. This is why our sources anchor us to key scriptures to validate these pursuits.
Let's layer those in. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18 reminds us that vision provides direction and purpose. The text says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish."
And perish doesn't just mean physical death, right?
No, in the original Hebrew, it means to cast off restraint, to unravel. Without it, we wander aimlessly. Then we have Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. God's plans are filled with hope and a future, reinforcing the source text's promise of a wonderful future.
Even when the Israelites were stuck in exile in Babylon, the hope superseded their current circumstances.
Exactly. And Philippians chapter 1, verse 6 is a reminder that God is the one who finishes the work he begins in us. You are not responsible for the completion of the vision. You are only responsible for the obedience of the next step.
So what does this all mean? It means these modern applications aren't just nice ideas. They are divine assignments.
Which brings us to the exceedingly abundantly principle. The quote claims that dreams contain the potential to help you live a fantastic life.
But to elevate this from a secular self-help concept to a spiritual truth, we have to look at Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20.
Paul writes that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or imagine. If we connect this to the bigger picture, your human imagination is limited by your biology and your trauma.
So your ceiling is God's baseline.
Exactly. Tapping into that infinite resource pool is what makes the life fantastic. It's not about avoiding difficulty. It's watching God orchestrate impossible realities in response to your obedience.
I want to slow down the pace right here and invite you, the listener, to actively engage with 5 reflection questions. Let these really sink in. Number 1, what dream has God placed on my heart?
Be brutally honest with yourself about what it actually is, not just the safe version you tell people.
Number 2, have I allowed fear or doubt to keep me from pursuing it?
Have you labeled your cowardice as prudence?
Number 3, am I waiting for perfect conditions instead of taking the next faithful step?
This raises an important question. Are you demanding a flawless schematic before you lay a single brick? Because if you require perfect conditions, you have eliminated the need for faith entirely.
Which brings us to number 4. What small act of obedience can I take this week?
Buy the web domain. Make the apology phone call.
And finally, number 5. How would my life change if I fully trusted God's plan for my future?
Faith is the currency of the kingdom, not predictability.
That is so powerful. Let's summarize the core takeaways from our deep dive today. Every great kingdom assignment begins with a God-given dream. It is faith that turns vision into action.
It is obedience that sustains the journey through seasons of preparation.
And ultimately, it is God's timing that transforms dreams into reality. Do not allow fear, delay, or doubt to silence the vision God has placed within you. Dare to dream boldly, trust God completely, and take the next faithful step toward the future He has prepared for you.
I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over. If you knew that the dream God placed in your heart would bring you no personal fame, no financial wealth, and might even invite misunderstanding from those closest to you, but it would perfectly advance His kingdom, would you still have the bravery to pursue it?
That is the ultimate question. We don't need a flawless blueprint. We just need to pick up our single brick and start building. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for joining us today on From Manuscript to Ministry. If today's featured book encouraged, challenged, or inspired you, we invite you to take the next step, purchase a copy, and support the author behind the message. When you invest in their work, you're not just buying a book, you're sowing into good ground and helping advance the kingdom of God through faith-filled storytelling. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs it. Your support helps these powerful voices reach even further. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, keep praying, and keep walking boldly in your calling. God is still turning manuscripts into ministries.